But moving out west, we're going to have in the West Regional, the top 4 seeds. No real surprise here. You have 1 seed Kansas, 2 seed is UCLA, 3 seed Gonzaga, and 4 seed UConn. If Gonzaga is in this bracket, there is nowhere to start other than send it over. Raider Jim, what are your thoughts? Gonzaga in the West as the 3 seed. Oh, you're muted. Oh, Raider Jim, you're muted. There we go.
Overall statement for the tournament. A lot of times we go into the brackets looking at the entire season, which you have to do for the seeding, etc. However, look at this last 30 days of play, look at the conference tournaments, and see what have the performances been from these teams. Example, Penn State. Nobody thought Penn State was going to make the run like they made in their conference tournament. So who's coming in? Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is dropping? Whose stock is just kind of like tapered off and is sitting stagnant right now? There's some of those schools out there. That's what you have to look at. In the West, Kansas, no problem. They're going to advance past Howard. They're going to take on Arkansas. Arkansas, I think, is going to take Illinois because Arkansas is one of those teams that of late has been playing a better caliber basketball than they may have during the middle of the season or even non-conference play. Illinois, up and down, a little too much inconsistency for me. Here's the next one, St. Mary's and VCU. Quite honestly, a couple schools that a lot of people may not even know who they are, especially the greater population of casual bracket players who just start watching when the conference games are going on. Don't sell VCU short. St. Mary's is good. St. Mary's is very good. If you look at them and compare the season stats, who's got a stronger schedule, et cetera, it is St. Mary's. However, after what I saw them do, after I saw their performance against Gonzaga in that championship game, it put a question mark in my head. It must have also put a question mark in the committee's head for them to take St. Mary's and send them out east the way they did. This is virtually a home game for VCU, and I think the travel might be the difference here. So we'll see what happens for Randy and the boys. I would love to see them advance, but I do have in my bracket at this point that VCU is going to advance. UConn, no problem. UConn moves on. Iona had a great season. They made the tournament. They're not going to get past UConn. After that, you have TCU playing ASU, who I think is going to be the winner of the play-in game. I think they're going to take care of business against Nevada, no problem. The thing is, even TCU, I think they were given I'm doing this without my glasses, a 6 seed. 6 seed is kind of questionable. You've got these schools that are 31 wins in smaller divisions, but they're, ranked way, way further down than a TCU who struggled to stay in the top 25 that second half of the conference play. They'll advance. Unfortunately, when they advance, they're going to come up against the Gonzaga Bulldogs, who are starting to put together the best basketball for the entire season. They've beaten Alabama. They've lost their 5 games this year, including to Loyola Marymount. But I'll tell you what, that last couple of weeks of the season, they're starting to put it all together. And that showed when they took care of business against St. Mary's at home in the final game of the season, and also the way that they handled the conference championship last week. Northwestern will take care of business against Boise. UCLA is going to advance. That's not a problem. And if I was going to look for an upset, and I don't know what's telling me that, sometimes it's your gut instinct, just taking that cursory glance across the brackets, watch Northwestern when they play UCLA, because that could be the upset in this bracket.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. This is kind of where the Mountain West starts to come into the fold. I personally, we recorded last week and it was almost live where we saw, okay, Nevada just lost to San Jose State, and I think we all kind of put the bow on their season, enjoy the NIT, and they get in. I know there were some people up in New Jersey who felt, probably Rutgers deserved that, or, something more. But I think for the Mountain West, I don't know if the vindication is the right word, but man, I think it was last year or the tournaments have passed. This has been it's been a long time since the Mountain West had a team win a tournament game. So maybe we'll see. Hopefully, obviously right now you have Boise and San Diego State who are in the big tournament. We'll see if Nevada can take down ASU, but doesn't look likely there in that play-in game. But Coach, what are your thoughts on the West Regional?
Yeah, the West is kind of like they say this is the bracket of death because this is has a lot of top teams. Um, I'm kind of mixed on this selection committee. I mean, you got a St. Mary's team, a WCC team, a Gonzaga WCC, Boise State Mountain West. Whether it's Arizona State, Pac-10, Pac-12, Nevada Mountain West, they really did a lazy job here, you know, not spreading some teams out. And I'm going to talk more about certain other team selections in regards to where they were put. And I get you're going to have to travel or you're going to have to play a team unexpectedly harder than you think they are. But geez, to have two West Coast Conference teams in one bracket, to have potentially two Pac-12s and two Mountain West teams in a bracket, like a big two, how many Big 12 teams are there? It's kind of like really like you guys were in the conference rooms putting these teams together prior to Sunday's tournaments or the conference tournaments, and this is the best you could come up with, especially here. The team that I think is going to come out of the West, I'm just going to go with Kansas. Now, I'm bringing up storylines. Bill Self missed the entire Big 12 tournament. He's expected to be there first round against Howard.
Yeah.
Had two stints put in, so he went under the knife. Not something very easy to come back from, and and we'll see how much energy he has going into this tournament moving forward. Um, this is a bracket that I didn't get a chance to see a lot of Illinois, but I did see Arkansas a number of times, whether it was against San Diego State or some of those other SEC teams. But I decided to go with Illinois. It's just kind of a hunch I have. I'm hoping the Big Ten is tougher than they say it was, and is able to pull that out. A lot of it also is my dislike for their coach Musselman. He's the biggest crybaby in the field, and I'm hoping karma will take care of them. I like VCU. I did watch that St. Mary's Gonzaga matchup, and I did think that St. Mary's, that game definitely wasn't St. Mary's of the entire season. And I don't know, maybe it's just what I remember of VCU when Shaka was coaching that team, and I'm looking for them to make a run, and just their toughness and their grit is what can separate these two evenly matched up teams. I do like UConn. I like UConn to win the next two, their first round, and then the winner of the St. Mary's VCU matchup. I think I've talked about the Big East all season long, and position for position, good bodies, good length, great athleticism, some underlying stars on that team that make all the right plays but don't get all the name recognition across the nation. I think UConn moves on easily until they match up in the Sweet 16. TCU, I'm going with this just because of the strength of the Big 12. Again, I didn't watch much Big 12. I'm relying on the strength of that conference and who they're matched up against, whether it's Arizona State or Nevada. I actually picked Nevada against Arizona State. Being able to see Arizona State this season, I wasn't really impressed early on. I don't know what their body of work looks like lately, but like you said, we all counted Nevada out last week. I was surprised that they got in the last four in, but I guess it's my Mountain West loyalty over a Pac-12 loyalty that I have. So go Nevada. And then I think Gonzaga is right for a run. Like Raider Jim said, they're playing their best ball when they need to be. Unfortunately, I think UCLA is just a tad stronger and a tad deeper this season when they match up. But I do have Kansas coming out of it. And I actually think Boise State, and maybe it's my Mountain West loyalty, and it's time for this league to make a push. I mean, last year they got a record number of teams in and they all went out. I'm hoping that this is the year that they kind of buck the trend and take it to these teams at this moment, because it's got to look good for this conference if they want this many number of teams in next season. So yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Obviously, you said kind of the bracket of death. I do think, top to bottom, probably the most competition you will see. I think it's gonna come down to Kansas and Gonzaga in that regional final. I think Kansas, is playing really, really good ball. However, you talked about the Bill Self thing. I start to wonder, we saw last year, and it was very different, but Jay Wright at the end of it, he retired, and you do kind of have to wonder. I don't know for sure, but I feel like this is not the first time Bill Self has had, a bit of a health situation, and I do think you do get to a certain point where you got to be a little weary of that. This is not a low stress job, not a low stress position, especially at Kansas. Very difficult to kind of deal with, and March is it's called madness for a reason. So hopefully, he stays healthy through all of that. But yeah, you definitely do have to kind of think and wonder, is he going to be at 100%? Is the team going to be maybe a little distracted here or there? I like Gonzaga to win this region. I think this season it's kind of ironic. The I guess struggles they've had, and I'll put struggles in air quotes because for most teams, Gonzaga's struggles are best years for them. But for Gonzaga, we're used to them being 31-1 heading into this or something like that, and they're a 3 seed, kind of lower than normal. But I think they fought through a lot. They had a very tough West Coast Conference to deal with, and that West Coast Conference championship was I think a shot across the bow to a lot of teams that look, we might not have been at the same level we've been at the past few years, but that's okay. I think the veteran leadership, Drew Timmy, can and Mark Few put that together and figure things out. But I do expect Gonzaga to win this region and head to the Final Four and chase that elusive championship to going forward. I really do think the Bulldogs are ready to cut down some nets. Hopefully they do it twice, heading to the Final Four and then winning it all. But give me Gonzaga coming out of the West. So